Bruce Miller is well known as one of the most versatile and talented composers, arrangers, and conductors in TV history. He's behind the music for some of the most memorable shows of the 80s and 90s, including Frasier, Designing Women, and Wings, shaping the sound of classic TV comedy. Starting out in his native Detroit, Michigan as a guitarist and woodwind player, he later fulfilled his military obligation with the notable NORAD Commanders, a notable military jazz band. Just before his military stint, Bruce became singer-songwriters Paul Anka's guitarists. Right out of the army, he became musical director for Paul, touring around the globe. His career has seen him as an arranger for legends like The Temptations and Rod Stewart, among a long list of other A-list artists. His TV scores include numerous hit series, right up to the present-day reboot of Frasier. With 16 BMI TV and Film Awards, 24 SESAC Awards, and the SESAC Legacy Award, his achievements speak for themselves. Bruce's passion for SWAM instruments and his close friendship with the audio modeling team have introduced many top composers to the power of SWAM. Hi!
How are you, Doc?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm here with Hollywood legendary producer, writer, composer, arranger, Bruce Miller. Such an honor.
My honor. Thank you.
Fantastic. So I want to first ask you, how did you fall in love with orchestra? How did that happen?
I started in music when I was a kid. I was like, 11 years old or something, and playing instruments. I'll fast forward to when I got a little bit older, and it's funny. A lot of it was the composer Henry Mancini, because he was in the '60s. He was really he was on everything, and just the way. I mean, I come from a family. My parents were musical and loved music and loved big bands and all that stuff. When I heard Mancini's music, it was different. There was something special over and above what you would hear, with that kind of stuff. So I started listening to that stuff. Never really did anything with it, but started playing professionally back in Detroit, where I'm from, and working in big bands and orchestras, playing for shows, playing in jazz clubs. I was a guitar player and a woodwind player, and was always fascinated by the sound of the orchestra and the arranger. And I just got into it more and more. And after a 3-year stint in an Army jazz band, I was doing some writing. I knew I wanted to write. I just didn't. I never studied it in college. In college, I was a theory and composition major, which doesn't do much for what we do out here, in my estimation. Anyway, so I just kind of self-taught, studied a drop with a man named Albert Harris, but it didn't really stick with it long enough. I was not a great student. My attention span would wane. If I fall asleep here, you'll see my attention span just gone, but not with you. But anyway, I started just getting into it. I found people out here that were really serious writers, serious arrangers and composers. That led to just kind of learning on the job and learning how to write the arrangements, and pretty much gave up playing. I came out here in 1972 and stopped. Some of the guys are virtuoso players and great writers. I'm not that good. The playing got in the way. So I just started writing and just looking over shoulders and trial and error. And my whole career has been the first time I ever did a 12-minute sequence on a Disney on Ice special, which, was daunting to me. But I'd never done it before. I did it. And then different styles, I would always be thrown into the mix of having to do stuff. So you learn how to do it. You buy a CD, you buy a record. Now you go on YouTube or you go on Spotify and you can hear anything you want. And I was always kind of a quick study was probably my biggest asset, was I could hear something and get the idea of it. Yeah. not to copy it because that's cheesy, we don't do that, but to see what they're doing, even like the Mancini stuff.
Yeah.
I know I lived with his Sounds and Scores book when I was a kid, and that's probably about the most formal arranging I got. When I got into composing for television, a little bit of film, but mainly TV, it's funny because I've never hired an orchestrator. I don't know how to prepare for them. I don't know how to sketch what they want. So I always did all my own orchestration. And if I would record something that I really loved, where I was happy with what I did, what I was happy with was more the orchestration than the composition. I could write the melody, but that didn't do it for me. What gave me the kick, and I'd want to play for my friends, what the chart sounded like, where the harmonies went, and the melodies. So I've always been like a hack arranger at heart forever. And to this day, it's the most important thing to me. As they say, the old thing, you can do Happy Birthday.
Right.
It's a very simple song. And however, you can orchestrate it in such a way that can make you laugh, make you cry, make you scared, and so that's kind of it. I mean, actually, when I think about it, the way I'm explaining it to you, it was a very simplistic process for me. I mean, the work is technical, but because of my short attention span, I've been able to whittle that down to a very simplistic way of doing what I need to do. And so for all the years, I conducted the orchestras live in the studio, and best musicians in the world, and you know a lot of those guys. Then the electronics started happening, and I got into that. And at one point, I had an engineer that was over every day, and when I was doing TV shows, we started doing some stuff here. And then, as much as I love the players, by the way, what we're going to talk about will never replace the players, in all due respect.
Of course.
But it's gotten amazing. What has gotten most amazing, samples started coming out, but what got most amazing is at a NAMM show, I met these Italian guys, Italiano. And after I got them to stop thinking about food, we talked about what they were developing, and it was mind-blowing because they were samplers without samples.
Yeah, that's right.
And this really got to me because I'm not a keyboard player. I mean, but I found the stuff I had been doing with samples. All of a sudden, now it's like, and basically the difference is, with a sampler, you're playing you're playing it the way they've programmed you to play it.
Yeah.
With audio modeling, SWAM instruments, it's your performance. I mean, I'm playing the parts.
That's right.
Any way I want to. All these virtual instruments are doing is offering me the environment to do what I want to do, but it's my way. Yeah. If I use a sample player, it's not a performance.
Yeah.
And then to go further, I was always a key switch guy because to me it's always been in the performance. Everything.
Inescapable.
Inescapable. Every record I ever did, horns or the strings or whatever, it was like they brought it to life. And then samplers came along, and then it became a little more, land of the lost. Yeah. And so when I saw these instruments, it was like, my God, I can, for better or for worse, at least I'm playing me. It sounds like me, because every articulation, everything the instrument's doing it's as if I was playing it. I don't know the valve positions of a trumpet, but I can play the trumpet. Again, not like my virtuoso friends that are beyond brilliant, but I can play it enough to do the job and to satisfy a lot of people if that's what the project calls for.
Yeah.
Some projects, they just can't afford an orchestra.
Yeah.
I have friends of mine that are wild. They do a they get a call for a movie. They end up paying for a, 85-piece orchestra. That's kind of not in my genes to do that.
Yeah, I understand.
So basically, that's my thing. Is it's all performance. And if you're playing shorts on one track and then going back and play the longs, and it's not a performance. You're chopping it. It's not these things. It's just there.
They're instruments.
They're instruments. They're instruments, and the only difference between any of them is the sound they produce. But you have to know the sound. That is, you can't play a violin like you can play a trumpet.
Yeah.
Because they're totally different. Things as simple as vibrato with a mod wheel. I find with the strings, just the way they are, you're really pushing it, because just the way the instrument responds. If I'm playing a trumpet, if I go too much into the vibrato, it starts to play a shake.
Yeah.
But you have to know how that sounds.
Yeah.
When to use it as well.
Exactly. You have to know when and where to use stuff.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is to know what the instruments sound like for real.
Right.
Because if you don't know what they really sound like, if anybody is new watching this, that's new to this technology and what we do, best thing I can tell them, people ask me all the time, and I say, get on YouTube, listen to the greatest violin player you can listen to, but don't just listen to them. Watch them, and they're going to do just those subtle movements that they do, just the way they blink their eye, and if you can get that in your head and the sound that they're making, then you try to do it here. And so I struggle, and the audio modeling guys have become such good friends. I love those guys, and they've been patient with me when I constantly say, it's not doing that. Can you make it do that? Yeah. I had that with a trombone thing the other day, and it was interesting because they came up with the trombone that I wanted, and it was because that was something I couldn't. It wasn't in the performance. It was just in the sound. It was almost like I was using the wrong instrument. I should have been using that trombone, take it out of that case, or a different mouthpiece. So that's what these guys do, and actually, if I got that track up, I could show you those two trombones.
Oh, look, I want to, because you touched on so many very crucial aspects of it. So, as you said, for the people who may not be completely accustomed to what audio modeling is, and it does. So, imagine this: when you are sampling an instrument, you're just taking a few recordings of it, and you are assigned it to each key, so that you have the illusion of playing a sound, when in actual fact you're playing a recording. Right. How this is different is that the SWAM instruments actually recreate a physical model. What does it mean? If it's a trumpet, it physically represents the metal, the tubing, the length, the valves, how the flow of air changes within these tubes, and all the little breaks and the resonance of the metal. Like the trumpet ends up with this beautiful bell, which it's kind of ringing, so you hear the ringing of the metal, you hear the passing of the air, you hear the closing of the valve. So all of this is a physical model that you have a chance to control thanks to your keyboard controllers. Right. So what I found personally is that this was also educational for me. Because of course, I'm an arranger, I know orchestral ranges, I know that some stuff on a violin you can't play because it's a fifth, not a fourth like a guitar. So, I know those things. But then, to see the reaction of the instrument, it was a learning process for me. So when you get that instrument, you also get this great insight on how the actual instrument reacts. Because now the interface barrier is demolished. So now you only have to think how to write music for it. So, and I find that using it straight gives me also ideas. Because, with the samplers, I cannot do like, You can't do that.
Well,
Yeah, you can with the volume.
Yeah, but and that's the whole point.
And that's the point.
Is that it's all mechanical.
Right.
You're doing it all mechanically. The analogy I like to think of is like the human voice. It's like the voice. It's like kind of a dead item. It's unless you talk, there's no sound. There's nothing there. Yeah. But you have to activate it. Yeah. What you're doing with these instruments is you're activating with the samples. You're not activating. All you're doing is turning up a volume control when you hear it. You got a violin sample, and so if you turn up the volume and play it, you'll hear the sample, and it's fine. And you can do a lot with it. But with this other one, you have nothing. It's a dead body laying there in your computer. Yeah. Please.
No,
I keep
but
getting
it's
the
true,
police
and then,
ringing my doorbell.
No, but you're right, because then, if you want to get that change in dynamic, you have the violinist digging into that string a little bit faster, a little bit harder on that bridge, and that creates a moment of almost, well, that's the thing, you can't recreate it in another other way but modeling it physically.
There's no other way.
There's no way.
And like for example, one of the controls on the front end of the instruments, like the strings, is bow pressure.
Bow pressure, that's right.
So even though you don't have a bow with rosin and you can still with a fader if you want to assign it. I don't play with that, except what I do is for certain things, like for example, I use a lot of bow pressure if I'm doing like a big run. Yeah. Then you need to do it. Yeah. But otherwise, I pretty much keep the thing, and I've made template. I've made presets of all the sounds I like, and they're the player. It's literally how I play it. I don't sit and make changes all the time to the instruments when I'm putting something together. There's no reason to go in there and start tweaking and doing this.
Right.
If it sounds like that guy playing or that gal playing, that's one thing. That's all I care about. If it sounds right. And so the trumpet player doesn't sound different if he wears different clothes to the next session, the next day. Today he wears a sweatshirt, next day he wears a t-shirt. It's the same guy, and that's what these things are. It's the same, like starting from scratch. And so that person's going to play the way that person plays. These instruments are going to play the way I want them to play because I set them up. It's as if I could do it. Yeah. I could be a trumpet player without the funny-looking lip. Those
All right. So you clearly are a power user of SWAM instruments. You clearly know every minutia of what's happening in that music, and you know how these instruments work.
I know the music. I got to be honest with you. It's a study. I mean, I power use it. It's very complimentary. It's very nice. Thank you. But I'm waiting for the time where I don't have to be calling the guys, and I got a feeling it's a long time away because I'm still finding out certain things, and it's like, God, I didn't figure that out. And look at that. They told me how to do it. So far, there's nothing I've asked them about making an instrument do what I want that they've said you can't. Yeah. That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
It will. I'll stump them.
You're trying hard.
Oh, the little physicist sitting in that room inventing this stuff is Stefano's.
Yeah. Stefano has an incredible mind. So because you embraced it so much, and I see that you use this instrument a lot in your work. So just take me through how this instrument changed your workflow, because we've been talking about how you take notes and then you orchestrate on the fly, and then you like to perform with the SWAM instrument itself. But so how was it different before? Because I know that a lot of your colleagues are still working the way we all have worked up until these instruments were available. What did that look like from before to after your process? How did that change?
You mean going from live to this, or going from samplers to SWAM?
Going from composing, arranging, orchestrating, having the big templates with all the different possible sounds before to now you are performing each line on something that will sound more like the final thing than anything else.
From like the samplers that we
Yeah.
used to. With these, I kind of use these as if it's an orchestra, as if live people. I have got a lot of people who are not going to want to hear this, but any strings, brass, woodwinds, whatever they make, I'm using the SWAM stuff only. I've got all the usual, sample libraries and all that. I kind of have no use for them because I feel like I'm stepping back a generation. So they're all in like miscellaneous folders. I mean, the go-to ones are easily seen on my template because that's all I use. One of the drawbacks for some people is that these are strictly one note at a time. You can't play a chord. For some of them, like some of the strings, you play double stops, but in general, it's a one person because, like for example, you want to just play a string pad.
Yeah.
And with the other stuff, you just hold down the chord, you play it.
Correct.
Well, what's happening is, if you take a look at like the MIDI on some of these, first of all, everything's hitting at once. Well, players don't do that. The best players don't do it. You don't want them to do that.
Yeah.
So with these, I have to play and write every part, literally first violins, and then second violins, and then first viola, second viola, first cello, second cello, and basses. They've all got to be individually produced, as opposed to a string pad. Okay, there's all your violas and cellos, in one pass, or you can have 20 note chords, whatever.
Yeah.
This is, you're not going to get any more out of this than you are going to get out of live guys.
Yeah.
It's one instrument per track. The other thing is, by playing them, what I'll do is sometimes I'll play a part, and I use a breath controller on everything.
Yeah.
On all these instruments.
I can't wait for you to show me how you do that.
Yeah,
We'll do it quickly.
Yeah, but so I do that. What I've learned is, supposing you write a trumpet part, and he's playing along, and you get it just right. Now, the temptation is to copy it to the second trumpet, copy it to if it's a unison part, copy it to the, all that, and it sounds great. Well, it doesn't sound great because it's all the same. The best way, what I do a lot, I literally replay the part along with it. So this way you get all the subtleties. But what I found is, because of the breath controller, if I do nothing more than just erase the expression, which is what that's doing.
Yeah.
And for the layman, the expression, the way we use the expression is volume, is what it does. It's there's more than that, but it's think of it as a level. Well, if I play this thing, go da 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 da, again, I'm not going to hit the exact same spot. It's going to be, you wouldn't be able to tell, but it's different. There's no way that you can do. So I just erase the expression, and just play along. Don't even play a note. Just sit and blow into the thing and play it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll do that with the mod wheel for vibrato, and then you learn, and you go through and you do edits, velocities and things. But that's the way I do it. If you think about it, it's a really simplistic way of doing it. It's you're playing the part.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's baked in because, like, the art form itself of writing for multiple instruments is a thing. And, this instrument doesn't grant you the power of not having to compose, create, and orchestrate. It's a tool that allows you to do it. So I'm not sure when people say, automatic strings. What are you thinking, auto arranger? You can do that, and I'm sure that with AI, we will go very far. Like even just figuring out divisi without having to tell it. That's something that's quite easy that can kind of be done if you want to take a shortcut. But of course, this is an instrument, and you want to be an orchestrator and then use it as your tool.
I mean, orchestrators, the guys that orchestrate for other composers, and they do the orchestrations. I mean, they're putting a lot of themselves into that thing,
Right.
Because they're the ones that are going, instead of the line going da da da, it goes da da da. It's nothing. It's a little grace note. It's not.
Really.
It's that way. And when you do that on two violin lines separately, it's gonna sound like the guys, gals played it. And that's how you get the realism. I mean, these things are made to sound real, but they can, if you don't do anything with them, then don't bother.
Yeah.
Then just get a nice sample thing, and you'll do it. And that's not up to the standards of professional, and especially in LA, what we, know of the players to be. So it just depends how important it is to you to make it perfection, as close to perfection as you want. And some people go, it's good enough, and that's fine for that. I kind of can't do that. And the thing is, the way I work, I'll still get notes from people saying I don't like that or I don't like this or that. So it's like as specific as I try to get, sometimes it doesn't mean anything anyway.
Well, listen, why don't you show us what you do with these instruments? Because look at that. That looks like a piece of art just looking at it. Look at it.
Well, it's there. And see, we could even you can make it a little bigger. So this way you'll see the parts like these are all the strings. Violins 1, 2, violins 3, which it's another story. Violas, cellos, basses. These are all of them. And what you do is you play an instrument and then you follow it with. It's how you orchestrate. It's how you've got a melody, and you play it, and you have to think of something to accompany the melody with. How you do that? Well, any way you can. The exact same way I did it on paper. This is the paper.
Yeah.
So
It looks it.
yeah, and I was going to say, do you want me to show you a couple?
Please play it. I want to hear it. So all of this has been made with SWAM.
You're only hearing SWAM. There's a couple other instruments. There's a piano that I use, and a couple harp parts.
Yeah.
And with two different harps. Other than that, that's it.
Let's go.
So should I just play what this is, and then you tell me when to stop and when to get into it. It's a Mancini song. It's called "Two for the Road," and I just did it just because I wanted to do it, and because I love him, and he's celebrating his 100th birthday now, and so I always love this song. So I just did a little thing on it. It's strings, trombones, French horns, solo flute at times, and a little piano and harp.
You just said that. know that the lighter
Portamento.
plus the portamento, it does it lighter.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's, thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's good.
But it's, you know, it's all the subtleties of the instruments, the way you're, let me break it down just a little bit for you. So this is the instrument.
Yes, please.
Okay, so now with this, so let's say I just play the first violins.
Please.
And then what I always do, I always double it with a solo violin.
I see what you do. So you use the SWAM string section plus the string individual.
Right, and what I found is just the string section, if that's done impeccably, I literally just drag a copy down to the solo violin part,
Yeah.
and then just have to blend it, you know, so it sounds natural, but it's.
So it's five strings plus one then, basically. That's the sound that you're getting when you do that.
Well, with these, first violins.
Six violins, division one, and
Yeah.
then you're using a single
Violin.
on top of it.
Yeah, so it's like.
Got it. So real.
So, you know, that's, I mean, every note, there's the breath controller really makes you play it. I mean, it's the subtlety. You know, so
But also that thing, I mean, you were playing with a really light touch, and you can hear the subtlety of the string vibrating, a little bit of imprecision. It seems like you are in the room with it.
yes, but and that's where this allows you to do that. There's nothing else that I've ever heard that can do that. There's nothing else, because it's, and then when you actually do it, for example, I can just do the make sure that it's yeah. Like for example, you're playing the note. The only thing I do, no key switch, nothing. I play the note in my hacked way, blow into this thing, and then use the vibrato.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I use is pitch bend. So what I'm going to do is just play the little bit of the melody or whatever. I'll do another Mancini song. And just these, the breath, how expression, a light tongue on the notes, where it is actually playing it the same way a wind player would play it, or emulating the bow. But it's like. Okay.
So much for not being a good keyboard player. Look at you.
Believe me. No, everybody's better than me. But now what I wanted to do a portamento down. And if you go, okay, that's nauseating.
Right, it's a bit too
So,
long.
so that's the thing. That's why I say you have to know how the player would sound. So if you are,
Oh,
see?
yeah, now we're
then
talking.
that's you got to do. And then, so then you go,
Oh,
see? And then
that sounded amazing.
or
Yeah,
I don't like that as well.
different ways.
I'd rather tongue it like a trumpet player. Have not. This is not a short or a long
No.
or a marcato or it's just me playing
Yeah.
how I want it, and that's what you can't do.
Yeah.
This one. Low G on a violin, you can't vibrate it
Yeah.
unless, of course, you have a
yeah.
low C string, which the little Italian beauty over there has. We don't have that, so
Yeah.
this is the real deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, baby. Yeah. No discounts.
No discounts. Now, what I could show you is, let me go to a trumpet.
Yeah, let's do that.
We could do the exact same thing with the trumpet.
Yeah.
Here it is. See that?
Yeah.
Again, I pushed the thing went too much,
And broke.
too much of the vibrato. It started sounding a little bit like a shake.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We just want a little bit of vibrato. So, see, and what I do with that is the trumpet, and also you may notice a lot of action going on
Yeah.
here. The trumpet and the violin. You don't vibrate when you're changing notes. It just it's ridiculous. I mean, you can't picture. So what you got to do is, if you watch the video, you watch Itzhak Perlman playing the violin, you'll see him go dee da. Dee da dee da 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 da. He plays with his thumb too. Well,
very
anyway,
good like that.
yeah, you do the exact same thing with
Right,
this.
right.
You- And the little. So I mean, it's the expression things that you need to do.
So why don't you show me some big band stuff then?
Okay, why don't we do this one?
Yep.
This is an original thing that I did, and it's and you'll hear you'll hear what it is, what they do. Let me go to an ensemble section. Here's some solos.
All right.
I got to go back to where the trumpet solo was, because that is important. Okay.
All right, let's play that solo. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, so that's the trumpet solo, and what I can show you is the lead trumpet. The piano part happens.
Amazing.
That was without drums. I wanted to hear the instruments themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And so what I was talking about with the trombones was a okay, that's one trombone. I had the guys design me one that sounded like I got it there.
My man.
You see the subtlety in it?
Thank you so much. Can I ask you one last question?
Anything.
To close this. So, what are your final thoughts on the SWAM instruments, and why should musicians use it?
Because it's a substitute for the real thing, which is what sample libraries have always been. They've always been, and these are, it just depends what level of perfection you want. You know, I'm not perfect, and my stuff's not perfect that I write, but it's as close as I can get frequently. I'm always tweaking stuff and making it better. But I want it to be as good as it can possibly be. And if you're just doing the gig and it's just not, there was always a void in doing stuff without the live guys. And with this, it satisfies me more, and I feel like it's more, this is what I'm hearing, as opposed to some stuff that usable, you know. I mean, I say a lot of people just don't care that it's that real. The trumpet, it's fine, it's brassy, and you know, they play it. And if you have good taste, you know, you can get it's more than getting a product. I've got to try to get the best I can possibly get. I tried that with the live orchestras. I wrote the best music I could write for what the project asked for. And in this stuff, I don't want it, just because I'm doing it on the computer, have it fall short. And it's not how I'm wired. So the reason for getting these instruments is because you have no choice. There's nothing else that does this. And that's where the problem lies with so much of this stuff, is that, you know, love it or hate them, these are the guys that are allowing us to do what we do. And so we kind of have no choice. You either use this or do some very nice work. You know, I mean, if you're writing great music, it's still great music no matter what you use. But it's not as great as it could be. It's simply because of the performance, not because of the brilliance of the harmonies and melodies and counterpoint that you're writing. That's a given. Hopefully that's good. But then just the way it sounds, see that?
I see that.
Somebody's looking down from above and telling us that what I said was right.
Thank you so much, Bruce.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, everybody.